Good morning. This is M. N. Narsaya, Associate Professor, the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, KG Reddy College of Engineering and Technology. So today I would like to explain the sampling theorem, which is used to convert a continuous time signal to discrete time signal. At the end of this particular session, the students who will watch this video will be able to define what exactly mean by the sampling, and they're in a position to state and prove the sampling theorem, and even they will be in a position to explain what is Nyquist rate, what is oversampling, and what is undersampling, and different types of samplings. So let us start with sampling theorem. So before going for the sampling theorem, let us try to understand what exactly mean by sampling. What exactly mean by sampling? Why do we sample the signals actually? Why do we sample the signals? Generally the signals are continuous time signals. In order to process these continuous time signals through the systems, we need to convert them into the digital signals. So in the process of converting analog signal to digital signal, first we need to convert the continuous time signal to discrete time signal, then discrete time signal to a digital signal. So sampling is an intermediate stage where we convert a continuous time signal to discrete time signal. So let us try to understand how this continuous time signal is converted into discrete time signal and what is the basic operation of sampling. Then if I take a basic switch, this switch will be closed for all the values of NTS, and this is basically a switch. And let us consider the input for this particular signal is an x of t. X of t is like this, which is a continuous time signal. And when I say t is equal to NTS, t is equal to NTS, and this Ts is the sampling time interval, we call it as sampling time interval, and n is an integer which take all the values from 0, plus or minus 1, comma plus or minus 2, comma plus or minus 3, and so on. So now at the output of this particular switch, x of NTS, the small t will be replaced by this NTS, and the sampled signal looks like this. Is the envelope of this particular sample signal is also same as this particular signal, where you have Ts at 0 and another sample at Ts, another sample at 2 Ts, and another sample at 3 Ts, another sample at 4 Ts, and so on. So it continues like this: 5 Ts, 6 Ts, 7 Ts, and so on. 5 Ts, 6 Ts, 7 Ts, and so on. Now this is a discrete time signal. This is a discrete time signal, and this is a continuous time signal. You can say it is continuous time signal. Now let us try to understand how this continuous time signal is converted into the discrete time signal. Now the switch is arranged in such a way that the switch closes for all the integer values of this particular n. So when n is equal to, let us consider when n is equal to 0, when n is equal to 0, this t will becomes 0 into Ts will becomes 0. So the switch closes at origin in the sense exactly the switch closes at this particular origin. So whatever the amplitude you have for this particular continuous time signal, that signal appear as a sample here. Similarly, when n is equal to plus 1, the small t is equal to n is equal to plus 1 in the sense small t is equal to Ts. from origin to Ts, from origin to Ts, whatever the magnitude you have for this particular continuous time signal, that will appear as a sample at this particular place. Similarly, when n is equal to -1, then if you have any samples at the negative side, that sample will appear at -Ts, and n is equal to 2 at 2Ts the switch. So every time for all the integer values of this particular small n, the switch will be closes and opens. At the time of this closing this particular switch, at that instant of time, whatever the input we are trying to apply for this particular switch, that will appear as a sample. So if you look at this particular discrete time signal, we have a sample at origin, we have a sample at Ts, we have sample at 2Ts, we have sample at 3Ts, 4Ts, 5Ts, 6Ts, and so on. So only at that of instant of time, the switch contact this input terminal. At that instant of time, whatever the voltage we are applying in the form of a continuous signal, that appear as a sample. So in that way, we try to convert a continuous time signal to discrete time signal. So this is generally the basic operation of sampling. This is the basic operation of sampling. And there are other ways also we can convert this particular continuous time signal to discrete time signal. And the second way is, maybe whatever the signal you want to convert from continuous to discrete, just what you do is, just you take example x of t. This is my signal which I would like to convert into the discrete case. So what you do is, you take this signal, and this is my signal like this, and this signal, what I want to do is, I want to convert into the discrete case, where these signals can be multiplied, g of t, say it as g of t. I have a sample at Ts, sample at 2Ts, sample at 3Ts, sample at 4Ts. We need to multiply the signals, we need to multiply the continuous time signal with this kind of train of impulse function, so that continuous time signal will be converted into discrete time signal. So it continues, and this is -2Ts, and this is -Ts, 0, and this is Ts, and this is 2Ts, 3Ts, and 4Ts, 5Ts, 6Ts, and it continues. So this is a train of impulse function, g of t I have taken this. So the mathematical representation for this, we can write it as the g of t is equal to summation n varies from -infinite to +infinite del of t minus nts, we can say it. So when n is equal to 0, this del of t it will become del of t in the sense an impulse function at origin with an amplitude of 1, and when n is equal to 1, del of t minus ts, the impulse function delayed by ts. When n is equal to -1, del of t plus ts, impulse function advanced by ts. So similarly, for the various values of the small n from -infinite to +infinite, we will have this impulse function. So now this is my continuous time signal, and I would like to convert this continuous time signal into a discrete time signal. So what we do is, one way is applying this particular signal through the switch. Second way, try to multiply this given continuous time signal to with this kind of train of impulse functions, and the resultant signal will be suppose I am taking it as x g of t, which is the multiplication of these two signals. X of t I am trying to multiply with the g of t. Now if I try to multiply, this is the train of impulse function whose amplitude is 1. So at origin, this amplitude and this will be multiplied. So the resultant signal, you will have the amplitude as like this. So if I say impulse function at origin, and impulse function at Ts, and another sample at 2Ts, 3Ts, 4Ts, 5Ts, and 6Ts, 7Ts, and 8Ts, it continues, so on. So this is similarly negative side also, 0, Ts, 2Ts, 3Ts, 4Ts, 5Ts, 6Ts, 7Ts, and so on. And this is we know that this is a continuous time signal, this is a continuous time signal, and this is a discrete time signal, this is discrete time signal. So if you compare this discrete time signal with the discrete time signal, both are same. So from this particular discussion we can understand that a continuous time signal can be converted into discrete by passing the continuous time signal through a switch, through a normal switch, and which closes and opens for all the integer, values of this particular small n. So every time the switch is getting closed, contacted with this input terminal, at the time one sample will be generated. So similarly, if you want to convert this continuous time signal to discrete time signal, just what you do is we can also multiply the given continuous time signal with this kind of train of impulse functions. So the product of this particular signal becomes this. So this is also a discrete time signal. And even if you look at this particular discrete time signal and this discrete time signal, both are same. So there are two ways we can convert time signal to discrete time signal. So where this Ts, the Ts will be chosen in such a way that the Ts will be chosen according to the sampling theorem, whereas this n is an integer which takes the values 0, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, and so on. So let us try to understand the sampling theorem, the definition of sampling theorem, and how this particular Ts will be chosen, and what are the various conditions in the sampling theorem, and when this reconstruction of this continuous time signal from the discrete time signal is possible. This ultimate object is we would like to convert this analog signal to digital signal or continuous time signal to digital signal. So in that whole process, the sampling is an intermediate stage where we are trying to convert a continuous time signal to discrete time signal. Generally, this again discrete time signal will be transmitted through a quantizer and encoder, and the output of this particular quantizer and encoder will becomes a binary zeros and ones. This is the ultimate object where we are trying to convert analog signal to digital signals. So now let us try to understand how this Ts will be chosen, and what exactly mean by the sampling theorem. Now if I talk about sampling theorem, the statement of sampling theorem, let me take any signal, any continuous time signal as an x of t. Let me take any continuous time signal as an x of t which is band limited to omega, When I say band limited to omega, in the sense the highest frequency of the given continuous time signal is omega. Now the sampling theorem statement states that any continuous time signal band limited to omega can be reconstructed from its samples when the sampling rate or sampling frequency is greater than or equal to the highest frequency of the message, highest frequency of this particular signal. So that means if I take x of t as a continuous time signal which is band limited to omega, what I mean to say when I say band limited to omega, in the sense highest frequency of the signal is omega. If at all, if this particular signal consists of multiple frequencies, the highest frequency of the signal is omega. So this x of t can be reconstructed from its samples when the sampling rate 1 by Ts or sampling frequency Fs, sampling rate 1 by Ts or sampling frequency Fs is greater than or equal to 2 into highest frequency of the message signal. So that is we can conclude is 1 by Ts, sampling rate 1 by Ts should be greater than or equal to 2 into omega. So this is the condition, this is the statement, this for sampling theorem, or we can also write this as Fs is greater than or equal to 2 into omega. So where if you look at this Fs is equal to, where this Fs is equal to 1 by Ts, just when I say Fs, we'll say sampling frequency, when I say 1 by Ts, sampling rate we call it as, but both are same. So this is the statement on the sampling theorem statement, as any signal band limited to omega can be reconstructed from its samples when the sampling rate or sampling frequency is greater than or equal to 2 into highest frequency of the message signal. So where this already we have seen this Ts, This Ts is nothing but sampling time interval, sampling time interval, or we can also call it as sampling time period. We call it as sampling time period, sampling time period. And this 1 by Ts, already I mentioned, this 1 by Ts represents sampling rate. When I say sampling rate, how many number of samples will be generated for every second? Sampling rate means how many number of samples will be generated per second. And this Fs is nothing but sampling frequency, we call it as. Fs is nothing. And we know this omega is the highest frequency of the message signal, highest frequency of message signal if x of t consists of highest frequency if x of t consists of multiple frequencies. So now if at all if this Ts is chosen here, we are trying to understand the switch will closes for all the integer values of n, and integer values of n is 0, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, and this Ts also should be chosen in such a way that 1 by Ts should be greater than or equal to 2 into highest frequency of this particular x of t. Then only this continuous time signal, this particular analog signal or continuous time signal can be reconstructed from its samples. Otherwise, it is not possible unless you choose the value of Ts in such a way that if 1 by Ts greater than or equal to 2 into highest frequency of the message signal, we cannot reconstruct this particular continuous time signal from the sampling, from this particular samples. So this particular sampling theorem can prove, and what exactly this omega, and how this mathematical analysis will take place for the sampling theorem, how this mathematical analysis will take place for this particular sampling theorem. As I clearly mentioned that if I look at this basic operation or second way of converting a continuous time signal to discrete time signal, you take any signal and try to multiply the given signal with g of t, and the product of these two signals is nothing but a discrete time signal, and this is a discrete time signal. If I take the mathematical analysis of this discrete time signal where x g of t, so x g of t, just I am taking it as x g of t is equal to x of t into g of t, x of t into g of t. So already I mentioned x of t is nothing but the given continuous time signal, and g of t mathematically mentioned it as summation n varies from minus infinity to plus infinity del of t minus nTs for different values of this particular n. It will give you a sample, it generate a sample, so it continues from minus infinity to plus infinity. So this is the valid equation as per this, because xg of t is nothing but the product of these two signals. So that's the reason xg of t is equal to x of t into g of t I have written. This is valid in the time domain. But what I want to do is I want to understand the spectrum for this particular the frequency domain analysis, even for the this particular discrete time signal. Is there any effect of sampling in the frequency domain once if I convert a continuous time signal to discrete time signal? So let me also assume the Fourier transform for this particular x of t. If I try to take the Fourier transform for this particular signal, if I say Fourier transform for this signal x of f, where this x of f is like this. Since I mentioned 0, and this is minus omega, and this is plus omega, and this is f. It's an assumption, and this is the Fourier transform. This is the Fourier transform x of f versus f. This is the Fourier transform for this particular signal. Or in other words, I can also say this is the spectrum of this particular given continuous time signal before sampling. So similarly, what I want to do is I want to understand what could be the spectrum, of this particular discrete time signal after the sampling. That will become xg of f. So in order to understand the frequency domain analysis after the signal is converted into the discrete form, the frequency domain analysis for the discrete time signal. So as I mentioned, xg of t is equal to x of t into g of t. This is valid at time domain. But if at all, if I want to understand the frequency domain analysis, I have to take the Fourier transform for this particular signal. And if I apply the Fourier transform for this particular signal, xg of t will becomes xg of f, and we know this x of t will becomes x of f, x of t will becomes x of f, and this g of t, this multiplication becomes convolution, and this g of t will become g of f. So where this is in the frequency domain, this is valid in frequency domain, and where this star represents convolution, as per convolution property of Fourier transform, two signals multiplies in the time domain. If two signals multiplies in the time domain, this multiplication becomes convolution in the frequency. So whenever you are trying to change, signal domain, if two signals, the product will becomes convolution. So that's the reason this multiplication becomes became convolution. So xg of t becomes xg of f, and x of t became x of f, because the Fourier transform for this particular x of t, I have taken it as x of f. X of t, here it is, I have taken x of t, the Fourier transform is x of f. Just I assume this is the spectrum before sampling, and g of t, obviously g of t becomes g of f. Fourier transform g of t will become g of f. But we need to determine the Fourier transform for g of f, and we have to here and try to understand the spectrum for the sample signal. Suppose in order to understand the spectrum for this particular signal, if at all, if I want to determine the Fourier transform for this particular discrete time signal, so already I mentioned this g of t. So let us take this in equation 1. Now this is known, x of f is known, because we assume that x of f is this spectrum, because the signal is band limited to omega, we considered in the sampling theorem statement, and the highest frequency is omega, and we know this particular x of f for t. So we need to determine the Fourier transform for this particular g of t. So if at all, if I want to determine the Fourier transform for this particular g of t can be written as, because g of t is a periodic signal which is repeating with a constant time period is Ts. So all the periodic signals expressed in terms of its exponential Fourier series. So if at all, if I express the g of t, in terms of Fourier series, in terms of exponential form of Fourier series, which can be expressed as summation n varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, Cn e power j n omega s into t. So this is the standard representation of a periodic signal in exponential form, where the Cn can be expressed as 1 by Ts, and integration minus Ts by 2 to plus Ts by 2, where Ts is the time period for this particular periodic signal, and we can say g of t e power minus j n omega s into t into dt. So where this Cn is the exponential Fourier series coefficient for this particular periodic signal. So if I try to evaluate the expression for this particular Cn becomes 1 by Ts, integration minus Ts by 2 to plus Ts by 2, and in g of t. What exactly mean by the g of t? This is g of t. If you want to understand the expression for g of t in between this particular minus Ts by 2. So if this is Ts, this will becomes minus Ts by 2, and this will becomes plus Ts by 2. So in between these two limits, minus Ts by 2 plus Ts by 2, g of t is nothing but an impulse function with an amplitude of 1. So I can replace the g of t with the integration. We are trying to integrate this particular g of t from by 2 to plus ts by 2. Between these two limits, if you look at this particular g of t, it is just an impulse function. So that's the reason I'm trying to replace g of t with del of t, which is an impulse function, and e power minus j n omega s into t into dt. So now based on the impulse function properties, if any arbitrary signal, if any signal multiplies with an impulse function, will give you the signal itself at t equal to 0. Because if you look at impulse function, only valid, if you look at impulse function, del of t is equal to 1 when t is equal to 0, and this is 0 when t is not equal to 0. When t is not equal to 0, means impulse function will have a value only at origin. Apart from origin, the impulse function will be 0. So the representation of impulse function looks like this. It will be del of t. So that's the reason, if any signal multiplies with an impulse function, the product is nothing but the same signal at t is equal to 0, because impulse function is valid only at t is equal to 0. So in that line, if I try to continue this will becomes 1 by ts, and this total integration becomes e power minus j n omega s into t at t is equal to 0, it is valid. So this can be considered as again 1 by ts e power minus 0, when if I substitute t is equal to 0, so e power minus 0 is 1, so this will becomes 1 by ts. So Cn we got it as 1 by ts. Cn we got it as 1 by ts. Now if I try to substitute the same, this ts here in this particular expression, so take this in equation 2, equation 1 we have, in equation 2 g of t becomes summation n varies from minus infinity to plus infinite, and Cn, this already we have calculated as 1 by ts, and this will become e power j n omega s into t, and this can be calculated as 1 by ts does not depends on n, so 1 by ts can be taken out, n varies from minus infinite to plus infinite, and this can be written as e power j 2 pi n by ts into t, where this omega s is nothing but again 2 pi fs, where this omega s can also be written as 2 pi fs is nothing but 1 by ts, just we have seen, and where this omega is an angular frequency, units for radians per second, and this fs is the natural frequency, units for this particular natural frequency is hertz. So where this fs is the sampling frequency, 1 by t is the sampling rate. So just I replaced omega s with fs, and fs is nothing but 1 by fs. So we got this particular expression. Now if I want to take the Fourier transform for this particular signal, g of t, there is based on the frequency shifting property of Fourier transform, frequency shifting property of Fourier transform. If I say frequency shifting property of Fourier transform, what it says is 1 and del of f Fourier transform pair, If at all, if I shift this signal in the frequency domain f minus f naught, the inverse Fourier transform for this particular signal will becomes 1 will be as it is, and 1 will be as it is, e power j 2 pi f naught into t it will become. So when the signal is delayed in the frequency domain by a constant f naught, and the inverse Fourier transform for this particular expression will becomes that whatever the signal you have in the time domain, that will be multiplied by the exponential term, positive exponential term, e power j 2 pi f naught into t. So similarly, we have here, if you look at this particular expression, g of t is equal to 1 by ts into sigma, n varies from minus infinity to plus infinity, and this is the term, e power j 2 pi n by ts into t, j 2 pi n by ts into t. Now if you compare this with this, where in the place of f, f0 we have n by ts. So the Fourier transform for this can be written as del of f minus f0, where in the place of f0 we will have here this n by ts. So if at all if I take the Fourier transform for this now, it becomes g of f which is nothing but 1 by ts sigma n varies from minus infinite to plus infinite. Now the Fourier transform for this particular term into t by this e power j 2 pi f0 into t. In the place of f0 we have n by ts. So the Fourier transform for this term is this, obviously will becomes del of f minus n by ts. So this is the Fourier transform for the given the periodic signal, the Fourier transform for this particular periodic signal. And if at all if I want to determine the Fourier transform for this particular g of t, the g of t becomes this g of f, where this g of f let us try to substitute in this particular expression and try to continue and understand the spectrum for this particular sampled signal or discrete time signal with this particular mathematical equation. So let me take it as this is an equation 1 and this is an equation 2 and this is an equation 3. So substitute equation 3 in equation 2. Substitute equation 3 in equation 2 and let us try to continue this particular session by substituting equation 3 in equation 1 and trying to evaluate the mathematical analysis and trying to get the finalized expression for this particular sample spectrum. Based on that, let us try to understand how the spectrum after the signal is sampled can be drawn, and what happens if the TS is not chosen as per the sampling theorem, what are the different sampling rates we can understand with this particular expression. So let us continue the session in the next part by substituting equation 3 in equation 1. Thank you.